點樣樣喺前人
上海、台灣、香港、澳門、亞特蘭大。
Hello, welcome to Sex Talk. My name is Catherine Lee, and I'll be your host for today.
各位親愛觀眾，歡迎大家參加我哋呢個教育透視嘅節目。我係主持人 Carol Chan。
And this weekend we are going to be at the luxurious Taboo Resort in beautiful Muskoka.
This is your host Maggie Ng, and we are on location in Waterloo at the Canadian headquarters for Sun Life Financial.
To welcome all of you here this evening. I'm looking obviously for input, and we are doing a series of these across the country in order to get comments from Canadians and be able to, and we are the party that has put this forward in order to create public comment in order to be able to talk about what we believe is probably the most important issue facing the planet, and that is obviously issues dealing with climate change, pollution. How do we tackle those effectively? How can we ensure for future generations that we will in fact have a strong economy, but at the same time an economy which is sensitive to the environment? And we're all seeing all sorts of various issues on the news, including that the latest one with regard to Baffin Island the other week was 27 degrees Celsius in the north. We see breakage of ice shelves. We see all sorts of changes. We see birds that are migrating to places they've never been before. And therefore, this I think is an important evening for you to hear from what I will call our resident experts. I was the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment, Stéphane Dion, in the last government. And so I'm delighted tonight that I have these two gentlemen to talk about this topic. I will try and direct the traffic in terms of questions. And I'm going to begin with Glenn Pearson. And Glenn, besides this presentation, has done a tremendous amount of work on the issue of Darfur in the Sudan, and certainly well recognized for his work. He's adopted 3 beautiful children from Darfur. He has campaigned strenuously on the issue of human rights, but has always had a very strong interest in the environment. So without further ado, I turn it over to Glenn.
Thank you, Brian. I want to commend Brian too for having these events. These are really important. And before I move into the Al Gore thing, just let me say, when I found out, I got a phone call that I got a chance to work with John McCallum, I just go jump through the phone and say yes before they had finished. It's great to work with John. He's just such a trooper in our own caucus, and it's an honor to just be with the same room with John. Before we start with the slides, so let me say that I got to go to the Al Gore event in April with 200 other Canadians, and the only thing that qualified me to go to that was that I knew how to use the internet. And I just want to make that clear. The invitation went for any Canadian that wanted to go. So I applied and I got accepted. So I don't want you to think that Al Gore phoned me and said, Glenn, I know you're the resident expert. Please come down. I went there as a...
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Could you use the mic? There's some that can't quite hear you.
Is it on?
Thank you.
I'm a babe in the woods at this stuff, so I'm very much like you, but I do care about my environment as you do. And in my work around the world, I've seen the environmental pressures around the world as well, which is something that really concerns me. So please don't regard me as an expert. I am not. But like you, I'm probably at the same level. I have some knowledge, but when Al Gore trained us, it definitely motivated the 200 of us to get out across the country. There were only 2 MPs that went there who asked to go there. Maria Boulanger, the Liberal member in Ottawa, and also myself. And we were privileged to be So without any further ado, I want to take you through, by the way, when you're taught by Al Gore, he gives you 714 slides. These are slides that are made by Steven Spielberg, Steve Jobs from the Mac computer, Apple computers, all that kind of stuff. I've cut them down today to a little over 100. So it's a difficult thing to do because they're all so good. But anyway, I'm sorry, there's some that are really good that even explain it better. But for the sake of time tonight, and because John is the big show tonight, we're going to try to fly through these as fast as we can. So Josh, I think you've got the lights, so let's have a look here. This is a picture that many of you will remember, a lot of you are about my age, but this is in 1968 in an Apollo mission, and it's called Earthrise. And the astronauts had gone around the other side of the moon, and when they came out this side, what they said was that they were so affected by the fragility of the Earth, not just its beauty, that they came back after that worried about the future of the Earth, because it just seemed so fragile. It just seems so fragile hanging there in space. And that's what we're going to be talking about here tonight. That's the atmosphere. That thin layer of atmosphere, you can see the sun underneath it, is the very thing that has kept us alive, and also our way of treating it is the very thing that's going to cause us problems in the future. That atmosphere is not very thick at the poles, and it's much thicker at the equator. And that's part of the reason why we see the difficulty with global warming today. You know this science probably better than I do, but let's just look through it quickly. The sun sends its rays down. We know about that. The infrared rays, they come to the Earth. They warm the Earth. We understand that. And some actually bounce out. That's the way it is, and it keeps the Earth in balance, and it's been that way for millennia. But also some are blocked by the atmosphere and come back in, and it's what keeps the Earth warm in the middle of a frigid space. So it's always been that way for a long time. But then, in the last 50, 60 years, we really started doing things that have caused that atmosphere to fall out of balance. Things like this, many more things, how we drive our cars, the way that we live. But things like this.